Happy hump day to you, wherever you may be in God's green garden. It's nice to have you on board. Thanks for being here. First up, of course, as always, we'll have a look and see what's around the place with not the Forex factory, but pound US dollar. Let's go there. That's pound US dollar on the hourly chart, which is where we seek to trade our breakout into the London Open, which of course is only 4 minutes away from now, 4 minutes and 17 seconds, as a matter of fact. Are we ranging? Are we trending? Is the question. And because of Wednesday's breakout, which fortunately or unfortunately we didn't get hold of because we decided not to trade it because it was trending. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose with changing the way you do things, and that's how you learn, of course. This would have been a decent reward on the risk, which was that bar there. Today, however, I've got to say that we have turned around here. We've got a lower, 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 higher, lower, low. Had this candle closed up here somewhere, I might have been interested in trading this as a breakout, but nay. It has gone now into trend, and you can't call the last 2 days a range. Just not. It's just not simple as that. So let's move on, and I will have a look at the Forex factory, actually. Why the devil not? There we go, because we do have something important coming up. Not today. Oh, well, we do on the CAD. We've got, I'm on the right week this time. Yeah. I think I am. Last time I said we've got 3 rate statements, and I was looking at the wrong month or some bloody thing. So we got the VOC coming out at 3 p.m. London time. It's now, of course, only nearly 8 o'clock in the morning, so that is 7 hours away. I'll be asleep, promise. We had retail sales on the Aussie out overnight for most people. And of course, we had CPI figures coming out of New Zealand. Why is there an exclamation on that? Let me see. Source issued an interim release to cover the impact of COVID-19. What? I don't even understand that. Okay. It was a good number anyway. It was a beat on forecasts, so that shouldn't harm the Aussies' prospects for the day, one wouldn't think. But the pound wasn't happy with 0.7% on their CPI year on year. Year on year. Okay. So that takes into account the 2020 year, which of course was the biggest impact of COVID, or was it? Interesting. Be interesting to hear what Ash has to say about that. As I said, we've got the BOC rates statement, monetary policy report, and press conference coming out later today, and that is probably the shape of things as I currently see it. Now, today, this week, 1 week ago today, we had 10 key reversal bars that I pointed out to you guys. 8 of them actually got the bickies. The other 2 didn't trigger. This morning, there were 15 key reversal bars that I noticed, and I'll probably go through those. We'll have a look at what the pound does in 40 seconds, but I'll go through those as soon as that's happened. Very, very interesting. Today, only a few of them would have triggered at this point, and none of them has produced a TP1 as yet. I am trading one of them. It is Kiwi Swissy. I'll go to that now. Kiwi Swissy, if you wanted to follow that order, it is underneath this bar in the weekly pivot by about 5 pips. Actually, I'll put it underneath the current day's bar, which of course went down very quickly and then back. By the time I got to it, that was pretty much the shape of things, actually. So I put my entry underneath today's bar and my stop loss above the swing prior to yesterday. which of course is above the monthly pivot and the trend line, etc., etc. So if you wanted to follow that one, it is a sell at 0.6549. Stop loss is at 0.6629, and TP1 is at 0.6511, just on that swing there. That's TP1. TP2, you could start thinking about TP2 at that level, I would think, if we're fortunate enough to get there. Round about, what, 64.25? Maybe even 64.22. That's kind of where I'd be looking for this as a TP2. Righto, let's go and have a look very quickly at hi Paul P, hi Hanan, the pound. See what it's done out of the blocks, because we now do have an open. Very mute at this point. So nothing's jumped out of the blocks, or certainly pound US dollar hasn't jumped out of the blocks. So let's move on. That's what I wanted to look at. So I chose 4 pairs this morning, 4 of the key reversal bars. This is what I do on a day chart, right? That's precisely what I'm looking for, is key reversal bars, because they work. And Euro Kiwi was one. No, it wasn't. Euro Kiwi was a key reversal bar, here to here, but it's not one of the 4 best that I chose. I chose what I consider to be the 4 best. Why isn't this a good one? I'm going to let you guys work that one out and give me an answer if you can. Yes, of course, Gyro. Yep. There's that trade again. Selling at 0.6549, stop loss 0.6629, and TP1 at 0.6511. Okie doke, just leave that up there for a tick longer. And back to Euro Kiwi. Hope you got that, mate. So we've got clear key reversal bar. Now, I've spoken about this almost ad nauseum. I'm sure you guys are sick of hearing it. But if we go to the weekly chart here, you can see this bar here. Speaking of key reversal bars, there is a key reversal bar, almost followed by an inside bar as well. But we got consolidation, or even a little bit of retracement on that bar, then smashed through the consolidation that we'd gone into, came back and have settled into more consolidation, and I'm expecting that this consolidation will end with a break to the high side. Now, this is not just on that chart that I'm reckoning that, but on this chart as well. I said at the time, you could do worse than trade that bar there with your entry above, stop loss below. You'd be kind of chewing gum at the moment, waiting for that to enact itself. But there's a key level here. There's a strong horizontal level that you can see. It's been massive support in the past. What do you call that stuff? Resistance as well. And we have bounced off the bottom of this ascending channel. We are considering going long here, because that's what things do. When they hit the bottom, they look to go to the top. Go to the top, look to go to the bottom. So that's what we're chasing at the moment on Euro Kiwi. And the weekly chart is telling me exactly what I just described to you. So we're looking for entries on any chart we can find one, really. And the daily would be just that cup of tea. The issue, of course, we could have traded this on Monday when we had a perfect bar there for me. Well, sorry, imperfect, but pretty good. Imperfect because we've got a daily pivot, an untested weekly pivot dead ahead. And of course, we hadn't had a pullback really on that to my satisfaction. So we hadn't really had a higher low. Maybe we do here, but again, you're still trading straight into that untested weekly pivot. So it's a no from me on that one. I'd really like to see price break above the weekly, come back and retest it, then look for the top of that range and beyond, as is my my analysis. Aussie Swissy wasn't one of them. Oh, that's what I was going to do, wasn't it? I was going to bring up the EA. Makes it a whole lot easier, doesn't it? Market scanner number 5 will do. There we go. Now we can just go through them. Now the scanner, if you use the market scanner, yes, absolutely sweet, perfect. If you use the market scanner, they don't always come up because it's not programmed into it to find key reversals. It's programmed to find market direction. I'm not exactly sure what that what those parameters are, to be fair. So if you see the market direction tool there, if you use the market scanner, that is. Oh, why won't it let me? Because I haven't said no to upgrades, that's why. So as I was saying, if you no matches, because I'm on an hourly chart, wakey. So they're the amount that come up, and I spotted 15, right? That's a good start, obviously, but the 15 were quite evident to me, and I'll go through very, very quickly the ones that I chose as the top 4. Euro Aussie was one. Now, Euro Aussie, again, I've been harping about this for days and days, and I'm sure you're sick of hearing it, but I'll do it one more time. Big engulfing bar. That's a massive key reversal bar, followed by an inside bar. So that's eminently tradable, that inside bar. Don't know that it would have triggered. No, I don't think so. But everything is still inside this bar. So to me, that means there's a massive storing of energy here. Massive storing of energy. And I expect that this is going to break to the high side. Very, very similar to Euro Kiwi that I just described. But there is a big difference. This has not broken that bar, whereas Euro Kiwi, you remember, had broken the consolidation range that we've been into, gone up here, came back, put in another consolidation. I'm still waiting for that to break to the high side. So until this breaks out of this candle to the low side, I'll still be looking to trade this long. That's Euro Aussie. And today we were given a key reversal bar that I'm not that fond of. Yes, it's a key reversal bar in that the low is lower than the previous day and it's closed on or near its high. Near its high, yes. But when they've got tails in both directions that are substantial, I'm not that keen on them. This, of course, by sheer virtue, is probably the one that actually launches this into the stratosphere, but not really keen to trade that for that reason alone, but also because you're trading straight into the highs here and the high of the big range. So it's not for me. Want to trade it from down here as a lower high. A retest of the pivots would get me interested if we got, sorry, higher low. Pound Swissy was the third of what I considered to be the best of the breakout trades. Got to go back there, haven't I? Pound Swissy, not breakout trades, key reversal trades. This is a little tiddler, this one. So high is higher than the previous day. It's closed on or near its low, but similar to what I've just described, it does have tails in both directions. Not a happy circumstance for me, but the reward to risk here is far better than most because you've got room to take profit before the weekly pivot or on the weekly pivot. Like the fact that it has had this strong move to the downside, broke out of the previous range, came back and retested that level. Didn't pull back far off it though. That's probably the one concern that I would have. But I think if you're happy to take the low of that bar, trade it to the weekly pivot and get yourself safe in the market, that would be a reasonable consideration. And the final one was Kiwi Dollar. It's not the final one. As I said, there were 15 of them, but of the 4 that I chose, this was the last. Same story here, really, except this is a far better bar to trade, in my humble opinion. And there is room to take profit before the weekly pivot. So you haven't got one-to-one there, but it's not that far off. So if you like to trade that way, similar to what I've done on Kiwi Swissy, I think it would be wise to put your entry below the bar, today's bar, and get your stop loss up there if you wanted to do that. It's about 70 odd pips. and you've got about 50 to the weekly pivot, and that coincides with that level. So if you want to trade that, I think that's reasonable. But I chose Kiwi Swissy, as I said, and yet to trigger. We'll see how that goes. Good morning, Ash.
Good morning, mates. Good morning. Are you on Fusion?
Not this bar. I'm not. Not this chart. No, this is
okay.
Do you want me to be? I can be.
No, I just wondered if your Fusion's working. Mine is. Oh, okay. Just got it in. Just got it in now. Okay, I might well have a trade, mate. I might well have a trade. Okay. It's going to be a little. I'm going to call it a slingshot. It probably isn't a slingshot, but I'm going to say it's a slingshot, and you're going to correct me.
I can soon tell you if it is.
Okay. It's terrible, isn't it? We've been trading together for like 2 years, and I still don't really know this slingshot that well. It's this FTSE, and what I'm interested in is that the break of this high here.
Mm-hmm.
So let me see if I can.
Very close. Very close.
Okay, so I'm just gonna make sure it's gonna go through there, but I'm not gonna put an order in. I'm going to wait until I see the actual momentum moving to the upside significantly. Now, the obvious issue with that is that I might miss the trade, because interestingly, now why is that there? Let me just double check these pivots here, mate, because these pivots are different on my other account. Yeah, these pivots are different on my other account, and I'll show you that now. I'll just make sure I'm on the right chart here.
I like the formation with the what I'll call a liquidity low there, followed by
look at the difference here. So you've got weekly pivot here, and you've got daily pivot here. And when I look at my other account, same thing, UK 100, daily pivot's there, and the weekly pivot's all the way up there. Now, there's no way this weekly pivot is down here. No way, because remember we're generating it from last week's price point. So this one looks accurate. This one looks inaccurate. There's no, as I say, there's no way the weekly pivot can be down at that particular point.
It looks like to be.
That's interesting.
Look, it's changed. A live weekly pivot. It's moving with price.
There we go. It's just corrected itself. Yeah. There we go. So I'm only going to aim for the daily pivot. Now that does mean that we don't have much room here. But I quite like the potential to just grab a little bit here. Now, my issue is that I can never work out exactly how much this is going to cost. So I might have to jab this in, because obviously I'm trading futures on my other account, and I'm trading spot on this one. So I'm just going to wait and see whether it is likely we're going to go through beforehand. But I like the perspective of this. Now, so one of the reasons that I'm looking at this is that we've had this huge move to the downside. There seems to be some concern about COVID-19 currently, about the spread of it in globally. But when we look around at some of the other kind of like barometers here, this is also valid. Now, I am taking a short here with the Kiwi Aussie yen. I've got a short in the market up at the pivots here, beautifully stacked there. Look at that, mate. It's never getting through there. That's going to be like Fort Knox to get through, I would have thought. So it looks like a great entry price.
Now it's through, yeah, absolutely.
If it can handle it, if it can remain there. So I'm looking to see if that can get up there. But what I quite like about it is that we've just made a little higher low here on the 5-minute chart. These are completely wrong. Oh, there we go. It's just made a little higher low here on the 5-minute chart. Now it's got to make sure it drags itself up. But if we use the Aussie yen as a barometer for global equities and how we feel about global equities, it would suggest that things are okay. Now, I'm also seeing a bit of a bounce back in some of the stocks as I look at them. So I quite like the prospect of this going a little bit higher. I like the prospect of the FTSE going a little bit higher. So that's why I'm taking the trade. It's probably there's probably a little bit more detail that we can take than that. But oh man, these charts are all over the place. Look at where the pivots are now. Doesn't know what it's doing, does it? Let me go back to the UK 100 again. Dear me. There we go. Seems to populate it right when we do that. Okay. These aren't even moving. Do you know what? I'm not going to be able to take this because oh, it's moving now, but it's started to go. What is going on with this today? This isn't right. The FTSE's now broken to the upside, so I'm not going to be able to take this because Fusion's just playing me up, mate. But there is a trade there. If anybody wants it, I'm going to have to generate it on my other account by the looks of things. And you just aim for the weekly, just aim for the daily pivot. Simple as that. There we go. UK cash. UK cash. Oh, look, now it's picking it up, but it's too late. Too late. I don't know what's going on with Fusion for me, mate, but it's not doing its thing.
Yeah, I'm on Fusion on the 15-minute chart, and it's working fine.
It's okay, is it? Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to take it on my other accounts. If I can, if it comes back just a little bit, then I'm going to take it around about the 68.80. So it's almost trading the breakout, but just a little reversal off the little pullback. I can't trade this. Geez, this is going to be a. All right, I tell you what. Let's forget Fusion. It's not doing its thing at all. Let's trade it here.
You've got Skype up at the moment.
Oh, okay, mate. There we go. That was just so I could get into. There we go. Let's bring this on here. Right, I'm going to try and take it here. Now, I'm on a minute chart here, so I could do with a little pullback to this point here. So if it comes down there, I'm just going to fire in to that. And just aim for the pivot. All right, 55. So the price for me is going to be different for you, and I can't trade it. Can I trade it on this one? Problem is these numbers change in the volume, but the volume on futures is slightly different than the volume on the UK 100s. And to be quite honest, you know what, mate, I can't take it. It's just that's just thrown me, to be honest. I would have liked to take that trade, but it's thrown me, and I don't feel comfortable now. I feel comfortable with the trade, but I just now I feel like I'm under pressure. You know what I mean? It just,
I know exactly what you mean. Yes,
that's kind of given me frustration in my stomach, and I'm okay to miss it. It was only a little short-term bounce, but you know the principle's the same. You guys probably won't be having your problems with Fusion. Actually, the entries here, you could take the entry now, and you can put your stops. Probably at the trend line as well. You know, you could probably use this trend. You probably use the trend line as a stop level. So somewhere between there and there, 29. And I'd need to get the pivots up. So trend line there. 26 down, looking about 19 up. You're only looking for a grab up to the daily pivot. So that's the trade, mate. It's not comfortable enough for me now. I'm actually irritated.
Yeah, look, that's absolutely exactly what you should do when that's the case, in my opinion. Because if it then went against you and you went in, you would be, oh my God.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody's watching. You know, how many times have we been through that? Some prick's watching me. What's going? You know, who did that?
You're okay to enter. 80 looks like the market price is fine. It's come back and it's pulled back and it's tested, so no problem. You can enter. You can take your profit here. There's a TP and there's the stop loss down there. So it's not a one-to-one by any stretch, but it's got a high probability of getting there because the daily pivot's untested. And the market has been in such a good move to the downside, and I can just see a little bit of confidence out there, you know. So I think that's more than tradable. So anybody wants to try and grab onto that trade, then that's what I would be doing if I hadn't had the issues with Fusion, because I'm feeling a little bit blindsided. I don't know why that's doing that. And I noticed it just beforehand. It just wasn't moving, and then pivots are all over the place. Bring it back up again.
Hey, Lewis, how you doing, mate?
And look at my price things; they're just not moving.
Have you
It's
got
there now.
have you got a slow internet today? Maybe
No, because this one's fine.
the other one's
Everything
okay.
else is working absolutely fine. So it's some issue with the server somewhere along the line. Good morning, Lewis. Good morning, mate. So yeah, anyway, there's the trade. It looks like the target is going to be 6,900. So there's not too much left now in that. Not sure if that's the same. Yeah, about 69.04 or something. Anyway, you can qualify, mate, whether that is a slingshot. Does
Yeah,
that
very
work for
close.
you?
I'd have to see. Oh, I've got a chart here of my own. I'll just have a look at my own. See which is the 30-minute.
We can check that.
No, it's the 15. You must have had the 15 up before.
Yes.
15. Yeah, there's a dominator trade there.
There you go.
It's the breakout bar.
Yes.
Enter above the breakout bar. Yeah.
Pretty good. You like that?
Yeah, mate, that works for me. And I mean, the shape about that, the form about that was perfect because you've got what I call a clean out or liquidity lower low.
Yeah.
Which is just obvious when it happens,
Yeah.
And then the next obvious thing to happen after that is it's going to break to the high side.
So you're saying this is the clean out, the extra low. So really, this wouldn't have qualified for you if that was equal. If price had stopped here.
Well, no, because you probably would have been at the top of the range. But it's still if you draw your trend, what I call a trade line across from the resistance area there. Yeah, you can trade that bar because it's broken the trade line.
Yeah.
Dominantly. I call that my dominator trade.
Gotcha. I mean, I don't know if anybody's in this, but we can see if it's going to get to target. It looks pretty good, doesn't it, right now? And I won't be frustrated about this for long. Do you know what? I'm frustrated that I wasn't able to get in the trade, of course. But do you know what? Where I'm quite happy is that if it gets there, I might actually have picked out one of the trades that you would enter.
Yeah.
It's quite that sort of like fills me with a bit of joy. So anyway, let's not worry about that now. Let's get to some other bits and pieces, mate, because there are, as I say, there appears to be some issues right now with COVID. Seems to be some real problems with COVID.
Really? What, with the vaccine or?
I think that there's a bit more spreading going on than the markets are comfortable with, and it has sent the markets into a bit of a tizwas. To be honest, it's not too good.
Well, remember we were talking on Monday about something was in the air. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing, and I think we should have a good look through these charts actually, and let's do that. Now. If anybody did manage to enter the trade, you are a gnat's tail, if they have tails, away from. Now you need to get target because otherwise it doesn't really. It kind of negates the risk to reward. The risk to reward is obviously not a 1-to-1. It's much less than that, but it had a high probability of at least kind of getting through the level and getting to that particular point. But you are very, very close. Okay, if you're within a pip, different. But 69. Yeah, you still got about 3 to go. So I would leave that on. Set your targets and leave that on. But yeah, let's get around and just have a look at the general sentiment that's going on and use the currency pairs and commodities that suggest the general mood. So we've had.
I don't know if you were in earlier, but this very same thing happened last week when on Wednesday we had 10 key reversals.
Right.
And today, Wednesday, we've got 15.
Right.
That may tell you something as well.
Yeah, yeah. 10 key reversals on the currencies.
Mm.
Okay. Yes, that does.
Sorry, gold's in there as well.
Okay. So let's have a look. So the first thing, just to sort of like say about the FTSE is that it is starting to form a head and shoulders pattern. Now this is the neckline, and the neckline was broken on price points if we look at just the 4 hour. But if you look at the dailies, then you could probably argue that that we haven't quite broken down because of that low there. So if we use these lows, then there wasn't a significant break. Now I might just have a look at one thing here while I'm doing that. Yeah, but this has got no confidence whatsoever. It actually looks to me like it's breaking down. It's going to break down. Now it might be from the daily pivot. Might be that we find that from the daily pivot that it breaks down. But the obvious view of this right now is here. And what I'd quite like to do is have a look at this and make an assumption of when that right shoulder is to be formed. And if that right shoulder is to be formed, and this 14th of May is I find really interesting. And on the FTSE, I'm gonna have a look at the S&P. Now the 14th of May is for me it's in question if that's the correct date, and I'll show you why. I'm not sure why that came up black. Now this says the 25th of April. If we're going to get if we're going to get mathematical symmetry between the left and right shoulder, that says the 25th of April. So somewhere towards the end. Now I don't know how married the analysts are to the 14th of May, whether it's just a general date or not. But if I look at the FTSE and look at when the market did start to move to the upside, the low here is the 16th of March. The 14th of May is there. Now, there is buying going on here. Now, if we're looking at the 14th of May, because it's a 12-month period before people can claim their taxes, but without getting, close their positions without capital gains, there's quite a lot of buying going on here first. So to my mind, it's any time from now until the 14th of May. That's the way I see it on the FTSE. Now, let's just see whether the S&P agrees with that. This is the S&P. Same thing. Okay, the low is a little bit later. The low is on the 23rd of March. But that does leave quite a big gap of buying going on before we really started to break out and break forward. So I may be missing the theory to a degree. But I wonder whether we might already be starting to hit the brakes on the move to the upside, and we should be possibly even starting to position ourselves lower. This is the Dow. This is the Nasdaq. This is the Nikkei, and this is the DAX. So this suggests to me that we are in this period. We are in the period where things can start to collapse. Now,
can I make a suggestion, mate?
Yeah, of course.
Can you also look at 2019? Because 2020 is a question mark year, isn't it, really?
Same time?
Yeah.
Same time, 2019. Well, what's interesting in the 2019 is that we also get a March low.
Yep.
And the 14th of May is there.
It's not that dissimilar, is it?
No, well, I mean, this is what's interesting is that the highs were around about February, and if we look down here, the lows here were January, and the high of that particular point, if you like, was around about March. So that leaves that would suggest to me that anywhere in this area there could be some genuine profit taking, and that same area would be between here and here.
Well, let me enter into the logistical way I would consider this to be the case. if everybody's squawking about the 14th of May,
Yeah.
when you're going to wait till the 14th of May? I don't think so.
Exactly. Certainly not if you've bought positions here, before the 14th of May. The only reason you'd wait for the 14th of May is because you bought on the 14th of May, and you also want to take advantage of the capital gains. So he's saying that there was a dip before it, and actually this is really where the dip happened, and it was actually the 30th of April. So that's when the first genuine dip came down, and if we're looking at that, in fact, that's the German market. Let's look at the S&P, because the S&P is the important one. Yeah, there was a bit of a dip there. I suppose the real big dip was around about June time. So I don't know what that tells us about time frame. All I'm really saying is that the buying really started a lot earlier than the 14th of May, and I don't know whether that puts us in. Now, don't get me wrong. The Gordon, who's sort of like said about this particular thesis, has analysed this way before I've even thought about looking at year on year. So he knows much more about this than I do. All I'm doing is adding my own kind of opinion on it, I suppose, and sort of saying, okay, well, if it's because of people taking profit after they have a reduction in capital gains, that means all these people down here are already in the black, and they've already got the green light to go. So if we look again back at this particular period, then it's the same thing. These people had a green light to go anywhere in this period here, and it was in this period here that we saw the major collapse. Now, does that mean that we're gonna start the major collapse anytime between March, which is here? Interesting, actually, isn't it? Because look at that. That was the last major time it came down. Now, that is March. So March 23rd is there. That's March 23rd. March 23rd up until, let's put the 14th of May down, which is there. Now, that means we are well and truly entrenched in this area. We're halfway through it. So you're right, mate. If everybody's saying it, then does that mean that it's going to be that's going to be the green light, or does that mean that any time anybody took it beforehand, they get spooked and they get out? I don't know. But I think that
would be the way I would. That would be the way I would perceive it.
Yeah. Now let's look at Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is part of the risk on attitude, I suppose. Now, I didn't hear Julian's ideas on how Bitcoin and the S&P are correlated, but the fact that you've mentioned it suggests that there is something in this.
Well, now you said yesterday that it was the Nasdaq. I think it was.
Oh, the Nasdaq. Actually, sorry, mate. Yeah.
No, I heard S&P.
Oh, okay. It was Shukri.
Sure, Shukri said yesterday it was the Nasdaq. Yeah.
I mean, the Nasdaq would make a lot more sense. Now, of course, the Nasdaq's bigger companies are also in the S&P, so there's kind of cross section of confidence there. But what I find interesting here is an inverted head and shoulders. That is my favorite pattern, along with the head and shoulders. And yet I am not the slightest bit interested in trading it to the upside. I think that there's much more to come with cryptocurrencies downside. And I'm going to tell you just a little bit about this as well. Now, does anybody know, there's a little question for the room, does anybody know how professional traders, now I'm not talking about professional traders like Jeff and I'm talking about market makers and hedge funds and pension companies. Does anybody know how they define a bear market? What's their definition of a bear market? Now, everybody's going to kind of completely dispel the theory on this in a moment, and I will agree with you. But does anybody know how it's defined? Where are we at? And if you don't know, just tell me you don't know.
It's okay.
Yeah. Just so I know I can move on. Oh, thanks, Gary. So no, it's not a. Well, it is. Well, the downtrend is. Thank you, Hanan. The downtrend is the subsequent result of it. the definition of a bear market in accordance to hedge funds and kind of, the professional investors and professional traders is a 20% drop from the high of the year. So that would mean if we were looking at the S&P as an example, the S&P's high is 41.77. So a 20% drop of 41.77. Let me just move you guys here. Is 33.41. That's what it needs to get to, 33.41. So as long as the S&P doesn't drop down to 33.41, the maths on that are right, aren't they, Jeff?
Yes. In my head, I got, well, not exactly that. I was, I think, maybe $1 out.
So there we go. So it's going to have to get all the way down there to give us a bear market. Now, if we were to follow the same theory with Bitcoin, which of course we can't, because Bitcoin does its own thing, it's its own animal, then the high on Bitcoin, according to this anyway, let's call it 65. Let's call it 65,000 because it's pretty close to that. 65,000. A 20% drop is 52,000, which is there. We're not there yet, but we are very close. 55. We're currently at 55,000 now. Bitcoin is a completely different beast, and I appreciate that, and I wish I'd thought about this yesterday, because we could have asked Shukri what the definition of a bear market is in cryptocurrencies. But this is concerning, and I think that there's a possibility that there is this 5,200, which is the interesting area. That would equate to a 20% drop in the price of Bitcoin. Now, it isn't there yet, and I think it got pretty close over the weekend, but it held up. And that's interesting to me that was the price that it has held up. But it just looks like we are on the broader patterns breaking down. Look at this one on Bitcoin. This suggests we are breaking down. Lovely hammer there, which creates this inverted head and shoulders on smaller term time frames. But why wouldn't I want to trade this? And the reason I wouldn't want to trade it is that it's in the wrong place. I don't want to see an inverted head and shoulders at a breakdown. I want to see an inverted head and shoulders with the right shoulder being above a trend line, and not below a trend line. And that's what's really what's going on here. Of course, it's not an inverted head and shoulders on this chart, but I don't want to see this hammer like this either. Now, this would suggest we could well get some upside, but it still looks ominous. This is looking ominous. The FTSE 100 is looking ominous. Now, you should have got target now, I would have thought. Yeah, you guys should have target on your trade. Hopefully, you got that trade. Hopefully, you got the profit on that. Did anybody manage to trade that? The bull market is defined by the 20% rise of the bear market area. So if the S&P was to drop down, it needs to drop down to 33. I think we agreed, which is somewhere here, down there. So for the S&P to be in a bull market, it would need to get up to around about the 4,000 level from here. That's when the bull market kind of resumes, if you like. Yes. Oh, awesome, Andy. So you got the trade, did you? Because, I'm really frustrated that Fusion wasn't working. But if somebody did take the trade and made some money out of it, then I'll feel a bit happier. So, Andy, did you? Is that with that yeses? Did you get the trade on the FTSE? Hopefully you did. Hope somebody did. Now, overnight, we had retail sales from Australia. And the retail sales came in at 1.4%. This is a good number.
Have a look at the asterisk. What the hell does that mean?
Issued an interim release to cover the impact of COVID-19. FF alert. I don't know, mate. Forex
Doesn't
factory
make any
alert.
sense to me at all.
Source issued an interim release to cover the impact. Oh, okay. So it probably means that there's actually two prints here. There's the actual print, and there's also adjusted print. I would suspect that's what that probably means. There's probably an adjusted print. Now, I wonder whether this is the adjusted print. If it is, then that's maybe not as positive. I don't know. That needs to be looked into, mate. That needs to be analysed a bit. I would have thought. But now I tell you what was interesting. What is interesting though, is that we had that number out and the Aussie is moving down. So this is suggesting that the Aussie's ready to go. Now I obviously
this is a dollar story. The dollar's rallying.
The dollar's rallying, but the Aussie against the CAD is down. The Aussie against the yen is down. And look at this bar yesterday. Now, this one here, beautiful engulfing bar there. Now, I don't know. Well, let's have a look at the pivots here. Yeah, the daily pivot's down, but not the weekly. So there might be some people waiting on that, but that does look good. You know, that looks like a that looks like an entry. Now at the minute, I don't know whether Fusion's going to work anymore. At the minute, I have got an order on the Aussie higher than that particular point. I did obviously get stopped out in the last position, but I still really like the Aussie yen for a short. So I've got my order up here. However, with the market doing what it's doing currently, I might well enter an order down here. I might well play the break as well, because I like this trade, you know. And if I get caught on a false break to the downside, and then it pops up and gets in, I'm okay with having both positions on, because I've kind of, you know, I've not over risked this position here, so I can actually enter a short also above this this low here. So at 83, probably 83. Where's the low? 83.22. So I'm going to put in an order at 83.20 as well, just to make sure I don't miss it. No, I suspect I'll put in a little bit less. I'll check it out. Let's put a sell stop in there at 83.20. Paul, did you get the trade? I just saw you saying thanks. Is that because you got the trade?
I think it was the answer to the bull market. Definition.
Oh, okay. I hope somebody got it. I'll be gutted if if that was all for nothing. And we got sticky Fusion and okay, 83.80 to 83.20. Let me just put this on. Actually, I better put it a little bit higher, just so I can see it. 83.84. I'm going to move it down, but I just want to see what this costs. What is 83.84? Oh, okay. It's there. Okay, I'm all right with that, actually. I'm going to move that up there. So there's a trade here, 83.20, with a stop up here at 84 to 80. Oh no, you restrained yourself as well, Lewis. I need somebody who did take the trade. But I've also got this order in here. As I say, I like the Aussie yen short. I just don't know, you know, if it is going to go down, of course, but more importantly, when and what's going to be the trigger. And this bar may well be the trigger. You know, it might start to collapse below that point. Now that looks pretty good, doesn't it? Because it's it's going to have to break down this trend line as well to get us into the trade. So if that trend line gives way, then it's probably going to have a little bit more chance of going. That might need to be a little bit tighter. There and there looks pretty good. There and there. So we've got 2 entries on the Aussie yen, mate, and I, as I say, I quite like the potential bearish aspect of this market over a longer period. I think that there was obviously an opportunity to take some upside early doors this morning, but I think now there's a decent chance that that this market will come down. I just don't know when, and I don't know what the catalyst is going to be. Now, if
Where's your stop on the second entry, mate?
The stops are in both. They're in both. So I've got a stop at,
right.
at 84.80. So
I was going to say those pivots look like a magnet to me today.
they look great, don't they?
Mm.
Yeah, they look really good. So that's why I'd like to get. The reason I've put this in is just in case they don't drag the price up.
Yep. Know what you're doing.
Just in case there is enough, because these moves that we saw yesterday were, I think, quite significant. You know, they are telling us something, and it wasn't just the Aussie yen. If we consider the Aussie yen as the best proxy for the stock market, what we saw was the FTSE 100 having a big drag to the downside. We had the S&P having a drag to the downside. We had the DAX having a big drag to the downside. So they all hit a high and then collapsed. And we've also had Bitcoin, which has obviously come down. So I think we've got some messages that we need to sit up and listen to. And the message for me is that this market is going to attempt to come down. Now, I can't say it's coming down because we don't know what's going to happen. But what I can say is that I think it's going to attempt to come down. And I don't really want to miss out on the opportunity. So it might be here. It might be here. As Jeff says, that does look like a magnet. And if it does get up there, then there's every chance that point will get rejected. And I might have to just move my entries down a little bit just to make sure that these get triggered as well. But I'll watch that as we go. And maybe changing them as we go. So that's where I'm at, mate. I'm pretty negative on stock markets at the minute. But as I say, I don't know what the catalyst is going to be. It might be further breaking news about COVID. Maybe it's one of these data points. There's very little in the way of data from the United States this week. Very, very little here. Looking at Thursday, a little bit of monetary policy from the Eurozone, so that may have some kind of may leave some mark on the move of the market. We have a bit more from the Eurozone, but not a whole bunch. And if we look at next week, this is where maybe we start to see things change, and that's the 28th of May. And again, is that the trigger that gets us down within that May the 14th timeframe that we are, kind of all banking on being the message?
No, I'm not.
You're not banking on it. You don't care.
No.
So so that's the overall thesis, mate. And the other thing is, if I enter here, if I get this entry, and I'm going to leave this one on, because all this will be is an adding to the position. If I get this entry, I will leave this one on the market. If they both come down, I may well move either this entry to break even, which means I've got one trade on, or I'll move it closer just to keep the expense down. So just so everybody understands what I've got on here. If this is what you guys want to do, now obviously do your own analysis on this and make sure it's something that you are in agreement with. But I've got entry 1 is a sell limit, and that is at 83. Looks like around about 83. I did put it in the broadcast group. I'm going to guess it's 83.88.
I'll find out for you. $83.85.
83.85. Okay, 83.85 for the entry. The stop loss
84.80.
84.80. So there we go. So we got 83.85 for our limit order. Stop loss at 84.80. And then another entry, which is a sell stop at 83. It looks like 20 to me. It was 20, wasn't it? 83.20. And currently this stop loss is also at this particular point as well. So stop loss in both areas, in the same area. So obviously there's less on this one than there is on this one, because the distance between these 2 points is smaller than the distance between these 2 points. So if you're going to split your trade up into half or a quarter or a third, then make sure that you are accounting for the pip value, the value of the pips between these 2 points and these 2 points here when you're looking to enter. If you're going to do the same as me, there's no reason to move this one early, if at all, because this is our insurance entry down here. Okay, so hopefully we get both, but we might only get one.
And Jira, yes, that will be a genuine ABC. It'll also be, what do I call that structure? The cat, I think, maybe.
The
Those
cat.
3 bars. I think it's the cat. It's an inverted version of the mouse.
Okay.
So I think it's the cat. Could be.
Okay.
I forget what I call it. Anyway, it would be valid. The only thing I would counsel that you do, from my perspective, if you want to trade as a slingshot, take profit 1 is the lows of last week.
So is that? Are we talking about the Aussie yen still here?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's if you want to take that on my strategy. I agree, and I can see the pivots. I think the pivots are the best entry, and what that will give you on my chart, I've got a consolidation box between 84.75 and about 82.30, something like that, and we've come off the top of it, right? So you can see there's a false break there of the top, and on that basis, that test of the pivots would potentially give us a lower high, which will be tradable.
Okay, fantastic. Okay,
which is exactly your entry there.
Right.
So I concur with all that you've said, mate. Pretty much.
Okay, fantastic.
Both entries, actually. Interesting.
What's that, mate?
I said both entries. Interesting.
You like both entries? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so well that leaves us there. I mean, okay, so Jara's asking about the target. What are we looking at here? Let's just do that. So I've just got to continue to look at this information here. Okay, so targets. Ainsley's in. Okay, fantastic. Well, let's get to Ainsley. Before we do, let me just say that the target is on a weekly time frame. So I'm looking really at 82, somewhere around about the 82, and then 80.75. So I'm looking on the weekly for my targets. This structural point here, this low, and this one here. I really like this one here. Ainsley, how you doing?
Hello, eh?
Hello, how are we?
Oh yeah, we're bright as buttons this morning, aren't we, Jeff?
Top of the world.
Top of the world.
You've recovered, Ash. I tell you what, after that weekend, I was a little bit, haven't done that for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can't say that I've recovered. No, I feel okay, but that's as far as I can give you, really. That I feel okay.
Yeah, I was just like, it's stuck. And I found with this one, just on the computer all the time, and there was nothing.
Yeah, it was a bit like that. How are we getting on with oil? Sorry. Oil and gold, Ainsley. I want to get onto it because I think we're probably we're very, very close to finishing up. So yeah, give us a synopsis of oil and gold, because Are we in this situation? So have you got an idea of why the markets are so weak at the minute, and potentially could this be a bit of a boost in gold?
Boosting gold. Let's talk. Sorry, let me just lead in with let's talk oil.
Let's talk oil.
Let's look at oil. Look at oil. Last week we we're talking about. I was looking at my seasonal charts, and I said actually watching these seasonal charts, and I went back on a quite a long one, and I look at different seasonal charts because some of them seem to pick up different nuances, and they look at different closing bits and pieces and how they pull it all together, their information. It can be, it can be a little bit slightly different, and comparing what is happening with what you're seeing in the actual marketplace instead of just one is rule for all is it's all a matter of doing your research and see what goes. But I have been following a particular chart, and I think I said last week I'm looking for a rally in oil. Okay, I must admit I wasn't quite expecting that kind of rally, but we got it nonetheless. And then I said, Be careful around the 20th of April, because the 20th of April on my chart calls for a sharp sell-off. Hello, look what we got last night, a really sharp sell-off.
To the day. Do we know why?
I think a lot of that had to do with things aren't looking good COVID-wise. Things are still pretty precarious. COVID-wise, I was just, I was just looking at this rally going, oh, this is good. Expect a rally and then a pullback. But yeah, I think there's a lot of that as well. There's a little bit of, okay, we all thought we're up and running. I mean, our Trans-Tasman bubble was open one day, and then yesterday an airline cleaner in Auckland who'd been vaccinated actually caught COVID.
Wow.
Wow, I didn't hear that.
Oh, didn't you hear that, Jeffy? Oh man. So he's isolated. He was tested last week. He was negative, but he is actually a cleaner for airlines that come in from the red zone. So they are actually monitored and isolated and have quite strict guidelines of around what they can do and how they operate.
Yeah.
So it's not like he was walking through the airport and, sharing the joy. He was in a particular area and confined and have certain protocols in place. Australians will catch a plane and they go to a separate part of Auckland airport. So anyway, that aside, there's all that, there's just that, okay, we're starting to open up and then we're really not opening up, and India's numbers have taken off. So there's a lot of, it's not quite as good as we thought it was. We were hoping a couple of weeks ago there was a lot of positivity around, vaccines are rolling out and a lot of countries are getting people, and the show's starting to get on the road and all that kind of stuff. And then I think we've just had too many hiccups, and the world's woken up really this morning to too many. The numbers are just getting, despite the vaccines, the numbers are increasing. So that's a real shame. But that's where we're at the moment. And I think there was a bit of a reaction to that negative overall detriment to economic stability, or we'll call it reformation if you like, but it's just not happening. But like I said, it was just a bit of a scary pullback that I saw that lined up quite almost to the day on the chart that I'm following. So that chart is actually saying for a bit of a pullback, and then we should be looking for May, going into May from the end of April. I can't believe I'm talking May. I really can't. A rally in oil.
Okay, so we are looking for a bit more downside than are we, eh?
A bit more downside until the end of the month.
Right.
Call it downside, call it maybe another look at this level back down here.
Yeah.
61.5. Before, what we're overall looking for in May, excuse me, is we're looking for a move up on oil in May. if this chart is to be believed. But as you said, you know, anything's coming at us in all directions. But look, at the moment, where the arrows are is pretty much what the chart that I've been looking at has. They're all the predictions. So hey, not too bad. What was it?
Break above yesterday's bar looks interesting to me.
This one, oh, what's it? I've got to. Yeah, outside bar, massive outside bar, but it's come back down a touch. That's the monthly. That's my monthly pivot on the daily chart, there, Jeff. So.
Yeah, I've got it. I'm looking at it. It's come off it.
It's a really interesting bar, mate. Does that mean that you'd be interested in a break in either direction?
I don't think so. I think I'd only be interested in the long.
Oh, really? Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't trade it from where it is, but if it broke the high of today's bar,
move things around.
Right.
So
I mean, I've got to defer to you because I know nothing about it really, but it makes sense what you're saying in terms of the fundamental aspect. But I really do see a range break to the high side and a retest of the top of that range. So I think a break of yesterday's bar looks interesting.
Well, let's see what happens. But let's go have a little looky-poos at gold.
Yeah, let's have a looky-poos at gold.
Shall we look at gold? Hello.
How's she getting on, mate? I mean, it's I'm still unconvinced. I don't know why, but I'm still unconvinced about the upside with gold from here. Okay,
here we go. Was I showing this to you a while ago, Ash? Because I was bored one day and I found a massive bull flag on my weekly chart. And it's massive. And guess what? Oh my God, we're at the top. We're at the top channel.
Yeah.
We're there. So that's what we're sitting at, looking, going, we would never have thought that coming back into it 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago when I was mucking around with this. But it's there. And you know, I'm not a big channel person at all, but I'm just going, oh, that's an interesting pullback. And, you know, you just start to measure it and it's like, okay, the techo side of my brain starts to click in with numbers and it's just like, how's that working? But look, that's where we're at the moment. Why I think, and wild theory, because 10-year yields are down as well. That always helps. However, there's a couple of other things that are going on, and we saw a big pullback on crypto, didn't we, over the weekend? What was it, 25% in a couple of days?
20% one of yeah.
So the Turkish government is the first one who is actually starting to look into regulation on that. Secondly, the US government are now going to investigate with the banks, with all their major banking institutions, investment in crypto to see if there has been any money laundering or illegal stuff. They announced that after the close on Friday night, by the way. It's all in the timing, isn't it? So that was announced. That could have had a major impact. They just said there was a lot of stories that were coming in and impacting crypto. What that has also done on Tesla shares. So when we see Tesla shares, Netflix shares, we're coming into reporting season, and some of these other shares are not looking so good. So some of these companies are starting to pull back. Where I'm leaning to is you've got a little bit, you know, where a lot of money and investment was going to other financial assets like crypto, because it was moving faster. It was a bit more of an investment. And into the stock market, which is why we've seen this huge rally on the S&P and the Dow and NASDAQ. We've seen all those other, the equity market move. We've seen the crypto market move. And gold sort of was like a slug. But wild theory is that good old gold, reliable, stable, still shiny as backed by a precious metal, gold is just slowly edging up. I think a bit of confidence is returning to that. Okay, she wasn't modern and moving and all the rest of it. But I think with the whole, do you know what? Actually, gold's not a bad thing to have in your investment portfolio. That's where I think some of that is coming from as well. Oh, and apart from a seasonal rally that we like to see about June anyway. So
yeah. I mean, does that mean we're waiting, Ainsley, or are we sort of? I mean, I've obviously got some positions in gold, but I haven't built in everything because I'm still hoping for a bit lower. But I don't know if it's going to come.
Your 1550. Can I go? I don't think.
Yeah, my 1550. You can go like that. Yeah. Well, you can go like that, and obviously I'm gonna sit up and listen to if you do it because you know much more about gold than I do. So I'm hoping for 1550. So what you're telling me is I should start getting in and filling up all the rest of my allocation now.
Well, I had a lower high after this, after we broke out of that consolidation box, and it was a bit of a false start. And I got in there on a position. I'm getting my feet back into it again, and I was starting to wonder. So I'm in at 17. What was it? 1739 or 1738 or something on that lower high down on the 4 hourly. And I thought, yeah, let's just see how that goes. So I'm actually happy about that one. But yeah, we'll see, won't we? I think we will get a bit more of a move up. We're starting to see a spin in the cyclicity on the MACD. We're starting to see the ADX moving stronger and higher with the DI plus. So that's obviously a stronger move. Once it goes above 25, we're looking for a good strong move because you've got the strength of the trend. You've got the cyclicity happening. You've got the second wave happening up from a higher low. So double bottom, break of the consolidation box. How many? We retested that enough, I believe. How many break-even trades I had through there, and in the end I just gave up. If only I could range trade, Jeff. There we go.
Can be done, mate. Can be done. Although I've got to say, gold, I have been looking at that for range trading opportunities, and since I started looking at it, it hasn't really produced many, got to say.
No, and that range, yeah, don't even. It was ooky there for months. It was, so we'll see. Fingers crossed we're going to get a little bit more traction. I mean, even looking at it now for this last week, or from Thursday of last week, it's not exactly breaking out of any fantastic area. We're not seeing a massive trend that I can say, well, okay, let's start leveraging in and moving this up. It's going in, it's checking, and it's obviously being very, very cautious. But when you've got things in the crypto market, I saw something today which was Dogecoin is capped, its market cap is 50 billion. It's worth more than Ford and Kraft.
I know, it's crazy.
And it started as a joke. It was a joke in 2013. Cannot somebody tell me or explain to me how that is just a speculative bubble? That is, it's Emperor's clothing stuff, you know. I don't get it.
Well, it's all moving. In my opinion, it's moving surprisingly slowly, considering all the situation that's going on with the crypto market. I thought we'd be able to flush everybody out a little bit quicker than we are, but I still think there's some flush out to go. Don't get me wrong, I'm bullish crypto and I want it in again. But I quite like it. Probably quite a bit lower. Argo blockchain doing pretty well actually this morning, and I'm surprised of the bounce we're getting so far, because I don't think this bounce lasts. I think we probably still come down from here, but yeah, it's people are still holding on to it. We were talking to Shukri yesterday about the fact that it's going to have cleared out quite a lot of inexperienced people. So
they always do, don't they?
Well, it does, yeah, exactly. But we need those inexperienced people almost to have another genuine flurry. So with those people now gone out of the market for a while, this is where I think crypto hits the brakes for a little while, and maybe we consolidate in this area, maybe we come a bit lower. But I think an explosive move to the upside from here has just diminished quite significantly.
Yeah. So I know that was a very convoluted way of getting there, but just to step it through and to say, well, where is the money going? Where is it being invested? Where is it not being invested anymore? And what are the alternatives? And gold's always been sitting there saying, hello, I'm healthy, I'm good, I'm reliable. I've been around for several hundred years, crypto. But, you know, and that's why I think some people will put money back in, invest it into gold a little more than things that have moved fast or move quickly. So yeah, that's it. It all depends, and obviously the big one is the yields. And as long as they remain, real yields remain negative, gold should keep moving in an upwardly mobile direction.
Yes.
Up-ish direction.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so that's my theory. That's where we're at. Like I said, nothing fabulous. It is just moving up in chunks. It's not a fantastic move, but hey, we're off the bottom, off that double bottom finally. Yeah. And we're at the top end of the channel. Are we going to see a breakout retest and then a move back up? I don't know. But let me tell you, if it does break that channel, that move from there to there is like 1,000. Was it $1,000? Close to $1,000. So if it does move up that way, yeah, we're going to be looking up around closer to the $3,000 mark.
Right. Okay.
With that,
all right. That all sounds brilliant.
There we go.
Well, thanks for that, eh?
Sorry, Dal?
I was saying thank you very much.
And Ash said thank you.
Yeah.
And also,
I didn't hear
so where are we at then, Jeff? We got anything else to update on?
I've really got nothing to add. If you know how to look for those 15, as I said, gold being one of them, key reversals for today, then have a good look at them. They're moving in the opposite direction at the moment, some of them, which is probably a good thing, because if you want to enter, then if you're in the wrong ballpark, you probably won't get one, an entry that is. So, and if they do come your way, then they'll probably come your way with a bit of gusto. So keep your eyes on those. As I said, I repeat, my 4 best were Euro, Aussie, Pound Swiss, Kiwi Swiss, and Kiwi Dollar, but there are 11 more of them, including gold, as I said. So I've got gold as a buy today.
Okay.
But I hasten to add, I won't be buying.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, let's wrap it up, and we'll be back in the morning. Thanks so much for coming in, Ainsley, and just
Thanks,
giving us an insight into gold and oil. As I say, we'll be back tomorrow. Thanks as always, Angel, and to you, Jeff. Always an absolute pleasure. I will see you in the morning.
You bet you will, and you'll see me too. I mean, I'll see you too. Something like that. Have a wonderful rest of hump day, everybody. Bye-bye.